Hey, if you've ever wanted your chironomids to look a little sexy but still catch fish, check out this fly.
Yeah, that's a big brown.
Alright, I usually tie this one in a couple different size of beads depending on the size of hook. I always like to have a light version and a heavy version. And the way we do this with the resin favors maybe a slightly larger bead. So this is a size 12 Hannock 230 and a 2.8 millimeter plummeting tungsten bead. We'll start out with some black UTC 70 right at the eye of the hook. And we're going to tie in our breathers here, which consist of Globrite number 16, one of my favorite items for breathers on chironomids. So I'll get a strip of that and fold it over twice, so then you'll have 4 strands. So like that, and then we're going to overlap this a little bit more than we need because I want to be able to pull it up and tie it off. And then we're going to work back, maybe a little less than the eye of the hook distance. So right about to there, and then we're just going to trim that off. And the main thing here is we want to make sure that this bead doesn't just go all the way down like that and just kind of impinge on those breathers. It's not the end of the world, but we want it to have a tighter, snug fit. So just build up more thread so that creates a little stopper for us. So that's about at least it applies some friction on it. And then I'll go in front and tie or put one wrap and then kind of props this up. And then I'm going to grab my Tiemco Midge whip finisher and just whip finish underneath that. And it's easiest if you hold those fibers out of the way. And then you can still, that bead will push them down a little bit, but to trim them, I just want to trim them, I don't know, about the same length as that black clod of thread on the front. Like so. Then our bead can just sit right up there in the front, and we'll tie our thread on behind that and work our way back. All right, the body's going to consist of these Hemingway synthetic quills. This is a holographic natural. I usually cut these in half. They come in a longer strip. I cut them in half because you can use the smaller ended taper for smaller flies like 14s and 16s, and then this larger half you can see I've been using there for these larger flies. So this is a size 12 or 10 would be good for those. So I peel off a strip. It's got a sticky side and then it's got the printed side with the nice graduated black strip. And what I'll do is simply put the printed side away from me on the hook, and I'll keep it at this angle, and then I'm going to tie this in with a little bit of the tag end. That way the thread can bite down on it and keep it in place. And then that rotates it so it's maybe not at quite such a severe angle, but it will allow us to, when we pull that over, it will begin to wrap nice and cleanly. So we'll build up a taper on the body. And then I'm going to stop my thread right here behind the bead. Now I will grab some hackle pliers. So I've got my fancy CNF Design hackle pliers. And the first wrap is the most important. So I want to get that down and then just snug it down so it kind of forms around the hook and that little bend in the material. Just being careful not to pull it, because if you pull it too hard it will tear. And then if you have a rotary vise, this actually becomes quite easy. And I just hold this at an angle, and that way those segments are nice and evenly spaced. And then as I get closer, my thread's going to start to now wrap onto the material, just like that. You see that? And the thread just was hanging in that spot. That's going to be our tie-off spot, so that works quite well. You grab your thread now, and then come back up, and we're pulling it quite snugly. So I got one full snug wrap, and now I've got very tightly, and if you pull the tag end of this with the pliers in the direction away from you, it just tears right off. And now you've got a super clean tie-off point on that CHIRONOMID body. Cool thing now is I've got a few more thread wraps to clean that up, and I can whip finish, and then the rest is resin, just the coating in the wing buds. So we're going to use 3 resins. My favorite CHIRONOMID resin is hands down the fluorescing UV clear from Loon. This stuff is like the 11 herbs and spices from Kentucky Fried Chicken. And whatever it does, it attracts the fish. I don't know, it could be my imagination, but I like it. It works for me. And we've tried it with no resin, this resin, and others, and I find this one makes a difference. So whatever UV mojo they put in there. And I'm just going to even this out. I don't need a ton, just enough to coat it, makes it a little bit more durable, and it applies that secret sauce in there that makes him crave it fortnightly. Okay, then I'm going to zap that with the Infinity Light. Looking good, Mr. Kate. Alright, almost done. Now the sexy parts. First I'm going to use Gulf Ambulance Hot Fluorescent Orange. Why do I use this one? Because this, out of all the colored resins, is the most dense, and it retains the color the brightest. So good job, Gulf. I've tried them all. So what I'll do, I'm going to grab a bodkin. So any old bodkin, a fine point's probably a little easier for you. And we'll take a little bit of our resin, and I'm going to squeeze some on the tip of the bodkin. So just like that, boom. Flip this guy upside down, and I start on the side nearest me, and you want to tag this on the side of the bead and draw it down underneath. So you just let it hit there and then pull it down, and then this will kind of settle so you can work your way underneath like so. So that's one little wing bud. And it does actually stand out kind of 3D-ish, so like a wing bud does do. And we'll flip the other direction and do the same thing. For as much as you can, try to have equal amounts. And then those two pieces will join up, and then we can kind of take some artistic liberty in there and make sure they look good. Okay, so that's looking pretty good to me. The naturals, those wing buds actually come under the body, where you can see the body on top. And so we'll zap this. Look how that just super fluoresces, it stands out. One of the reasons I think this is a good attractor. All right, now the last little piece here. Okay, we're going to get some black magic from Gulf as well. This is one of the more dense colors of black. And it's the same ball game here. We're just going to squeeze out a little bit on top onto our bodkin. Sorry, I'm blocking your view. Like that. And then where that little kind of hollow area is, we'll just lay that in there, and it kind of sucks right up in there on top of the bead and down into that area like so, and then we can kind of tease that wherever we need it to go. Like that. And I'm going to add just a teeny bit more right behind that section there, which is not bad. It's usually better to have a couple of layers than one big lump of it. Doesn't cure as quickly all the way, or cure as much all the way through a big clump of it. I'm being super anal right there. And that's it. So with the kind of sparkly-ish body, this is certainly more of a pupa stage, but with your more realistic wing pads and head there, the fish should find it delectable.